want to talk a little bit about reasons why people commit suicide. And this is my own kind of list that I didn't get this from a book that says how I list them. And my personal opinions according to each one. After my brother's suicide, my ideas about what is acceptable and what is not, and what is right and what is not, who has the right and who does not, you know, kind of things, totally tipped over on its head. After I saw what happens in the aftermath. And I'm still sorting it out. There is two reasons why, one specifically that I'm positive. I still, physical pain. I was a nurse that worked with cancer patients. People who experience physical pain with no end in sight, no relief in sight, has the right to end their life, period. That's my opinion. Now, mental anguish related to medical illnesses, or even a psychiatric disorder. And the example I use with this is Virginia Woolf. If you watch the movie The Hours, and they go through her suicide note, and it talks about how she feels an episode of her mood disorder coming on. She's starting to hear voices again, and she is afraid that this time she's not going to come out of it. Now, this is before they even had lithium, so her treatment options were quite limited, and each episode was worse, and she was starting to hear voices, and she just couldn't put her husband through it again. She didn't want to go through it again herself, and she just did not feel she was going to come out of it this time. And she killed herself. Now, that does not sound like someone who is depressed. And I still am leaning towards someone having the right to make the decision, that kind of decision. If they are not being influenced by depression, that they are making a logical choice, then they have that right. I mean, she lived with it for a long time. You know, anyway. I'm leaning towards they have, yeah, that's okay, in my mind. Now, the next step is the anticipation of the above. Physical pain or mental anguish, the anticipation of those. I worked with a supervisor in nursing, and she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and she committed suicide. She knew what she was in store for. She knew there was no treatment. She knew what her parents, what her family, and she was young, so usually it's more aggressive then, was in store for. And it was just a progressive decline, you know, and she chose to take her own life. And I still lean towards that kind of decision and that kind of situation towards, yeah, she has that right in that situation. It might not seem like the right thing to do, but if you look at the big picture. The other ones are, let's see, I'm going to go to, there's the ones for martyrdom, political or religious reasons. They have nothing to do with mental health. And I'm just, you know, they think they're doing it they feel, and they're not delusional, that they're doing it for the greater good or some greater glory. I'm not going there. Some people do. Now, I think committing suicide, out of anger and spite, I think that has to do with part of the decision making sometimes. But I think that's rarely the only reason somebody would commit suicide, would be to get back at someone. I'll show you. But I think sometimes it's a part of it. And the sad thing is if it's a big part of your decision to commit suicide, you're probably going to get over that anger or spite. But then you're dead. So that probably wasn't a very good decision. But I know that in mine, one time, part of the decision had to do with anger and getting back at my parents because I felt trapped. And that's another reason I'll get into. Delusions or hallucinations of a mental or medical illness that is telling you and convincing you to kill yourself. And it's not really a decision you're making on your own. And it's not because you're doing it to stop the voices. That's more of a mental anguish kind of thing. But this is, as in I have had a close call, very close call, because I had a delusion that a girlfriend committed suicide. We had a suicide pact a long time ago, and she was waiting for me on the other side, and I was ready to go meet her. It was completely delusional. And then there's the people that don't have mental health diagnosis, but they're going through a mental health crisis because of their situation. Like despair, loss of a child, of a marriage, of a job, shame, someone outing you because you're gay and you've been in the closet and now your family won't speak to you. You believe you're going to hell because you're gay, or that kind of dark hole that some people fall into without the help of a psychiatric disorder. And then feeling trapped, being in an abusive situation that you can't see a way out of, being gay in a society, in a community, in a religious arena that doesn't accept you, and you can't seem to live the way they want you to, or maybe you've lost a limb or two and your quality of life has declined and you haven't worked around how to change your life, or you can't to work with it or get over that, so those are that's the kind of listing. Now, someone has delusional hallucinations. Well, that's just not their fault. Martyrdom, well, that's their decision. Now, despair and feeling trapped and anger. Those people, please, I hope they reach out and try to hold on to get through these times. But I understand that there are some times and some situations that, like the loss of a child, and you just, I don't know what that's like, so I can't judge anyone. So, but those are the reasons I have observed and seen about different reasons why people commit suicide or consider suicide. And that's it for that. Next one, I think I'm going to talk about the myth, the image that people have in their heads when they're thinking about suicide.